Greetings and welcome to Educationally Speaking. My name is Mark Edwards, Communications Specialist with Oakland Schools and host of this award-winning podcast. In each episode, we focus on important and engaging topics related to education here in Oakland County, Michigan. If this is your first time listening, I appreciate you tuning in. Please follow Oakland Schools on social media and engage with us. If you're a regular listener, welcome back. Make sure to tell a friend and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcast. In this episode, we sit down and discuss the topic of career and technical education with Jarrad Grandy, Executive Director of Student Services for Oakland Schools. Jarrad, thanks for taking some time to be here with us today. I know you're normally moving and shaking, you're running around all over the place, but let's get right to it. Tell us about your background and your role with Oakland Schools.
So, first, thanks for having me today. Talk about my role more with Oakland Schools. So, in Student Services, we have really three different components. One is our consulting arm that focuses on K-12 career readiness with our local districts. So we have staff that goes out and works with teams in our local districts to help really get all of their students career ready, which is a broader umbrella. And CTE is a part of that. Then we also have our 4 technical campuses, one in each quadrant of the county. They serve all of our local districts and PSAs. And then we have also our student programs, which have our early college ACE program and VLAC, which is our online school, and that serves, again, the entire county and some multiple counties.
Very good. Lots of different buckets there and lots of different energy going to each of those areas.
Yep.
For those listening who may not know, you did mention career and technical education. Who is that tailored to nowadays?
So in the past, a lot of people, when they think of when they hear career and technical education, they say, "Oh, it's voc ed, right?" I'm like, not so much.
Not no more.
Not so much. So when we're really talking about CTE, career and technical education, it's really tailored for all kids who are interested in a career. Many times, when I'm talking to people about the work, they'll say, "Oh, that's great. Kids that aren't going to college, right?" I'm like, well, not necessarily. It's college is a means to an end, but it's more important that at that end, there's a meaningful career. And it's not for us as adults to pick that for kids, but it is up to us to make sure that we prepare them and we give opportunities. And so that's what we do at our 4 campuses.
Yeah, we want to give them access to different pathways.
Access to pathways.
Absolutely.
Access to pathways, industries, and industry professionals.
So what makes our 4 OSTCs, our Oakland School Technical Campuses, so special? I've been to a few of them. I've been to all of them, and I think it's an amazing curriculum and design. How is the delivery of instruction different from high school, from your traditional your 9 through 12 high school?
Yeah, so to just to clarify, it's 11th and 12th grade students, and they choose to come there, right? So they leave their home district, they hop on a school bus, they come to their chosen program, and then at the end of that session, they hop back on a bus and they go back to their center school. So one thing, when you walk into an environment where everybody has chosen to be there, you can feel that energy, definitely. Right? For sure. And so that's one thing that's different. But the other thing is industry involvement. So in each one of our labs, we try to get as close to industry specifications as possible. And each one of our teachers have industry background as well as pedagogy. So we do a lot of training and onboarding with our staff, but we get them from industry. So there's the people part, there's the facilities part. As well to really make a difference. And then our partnership with employers. They drive really in everything we do. We're an employer-driven system. So when we talk about that, that means they help us make decisions, curriculum decisions, capital outlay decisions, certification decisions. They help us with placing students, because what better way to get a kid exposed than to get them out there in industry? And the only way we can do that is with really great, strong partners, which we have at OSTC.
That's great. So a lot of relationship, a lot of team building, and a lot of mentorship through those industry partnerships for these students to really take them on their way into those careers and help mold and shape them to where they're successful. So great work there. Oakland Schools recognizes Career and Technical Education Month as it's celebrated nationally every February. I know that we like to celebrate Career and Technical Education Month almost every month here at Oakland Schools, but why is this an important initiative, every February? And what types of activities and events are taking place across our 4 campuses?
So I'm glad you asked that. So, like you said, the Oakland Schools, especially with support from our communications department, this is a year-round thing for us, but it's great because it's recognized nationwide as CTE month, and then at the state level, from the governor to the Michigan Department of Ed, it's recognized, our board, all the way down. So it's good to have a spotlight. We're all working in it every day, but it's good to have a spotlight and to let the public know about the opportunities that are available for kids. And so when we have this opportunity, we want to just get the word out that CTE really has changed lives, continues to change lives, and it's really here for all kids.
So during this month, and I'm sure this isn't any different, really, do they have speakers come in from industry and speak? And I'm sure it's different from campus to campus on what events they infuse into CTE month. Can you speak to some of that, what we may see, or for those that don't know a little bit about this?
So during the month, actually, it's very similar to how we actually operate. Industry is in and out of our building on a regular basis, so that's not really necessarily different. It's actually maybe more of the outward facing with our local districts and education, and we use that spotlight. But instructionally, each year, as each year progresses, we get more and more intertwined with our local partners and also just educating industry professionals as well that we exist. Because even though we've been running these programs for decades, there's still plenty of companies that don't know that we exist.
Companies and families too.
Absolutely.
I'll be talking with somebody and they'll say, I didn't really know these campuses existed. And so it's always...
And how much does it cost to go there?
Exactly. The cost is zero. It's a great value.
Let's be very clear. It's zero. $0 for families and for our local districts as well. It's a cost savings as well because for our districts are not charged at all for sending students.
It's really a great thing. And we hope that if you want to learn more, you can go to our website, ostconline.com. Our guest today is Jarrad Grandy. He is the Executive Director of Student Services for Oakland Schools. After the break, Jarrad, I'd like to talk a little bit about how career and technical education is funded and how it can lead to various post-secondary opportunities. You're listening to Educationally Speaking. We'll be right back. Hello and thank you to everyone listening on 89.5 WAHS, 89.3 Lakes FM, radio CMLF.org, and our new partner, WSHJ out of Southfield A&T High School. Remember, you can download the Educationally Speaking podcast on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Calling all motivated high school students enrolled in an Oakland County school district, the Oakland Accelerated College Experience may be the right fit for you. Students accepted into the Oakland ACE program can earn as much as an associate's degree or up to 60 credits for transfer. There is no cost or fees to the student or family for tuition, books, or any other required materials. Visit oaklandace.org for more information. That's oaklandace.org. CTE Month, as mentioned, is celebrated annually in February. Our 4 Oakland Schools technical campuses are designed for students who want to graduate from high school with industry certifications, on-the-job experiences, business connections, and college credit. If you or someone you know is a high school student who desires cutting-edge, hands-on learning, visit ostconline.com/explore. That's ostconline.com/explore. We're back with Jarrad Grandy, Executive Director of Student Services for Oakland Schools. Some of the core messaging surrounding CTE states that students can gain real-world skills, explore careers that align with their passions, and that they'll have options for college and career success. Can you elaborate a little bit on those 3 areas?
One thing I want to make sure everyone understands, too, with CTE, we have CTE at our local districts as well as Oakland Schools. So we really try to make sure that we take on the larger cost programs here at Oakland Schools. But throughout our county, we have nearly 21,000, 22,000 kids in CTE programs. And across our 4 campuses, we have 2,700 approximately students across those 4 campuses.
So what real-world opportunities are they having? You did speak about careers and industry partnerships. Can you talk about what type of industry they're getting into and going and getting that work-based learning?
Oh, yeah. So we can talk about it. So in our county, well, let me back up to OSTC specifically. So at OSTC, programs are 2 years, and many times our students are out of the building and with employers doing meaningful work 3 to 4 days out of the school week. In those environments, like I said, they're doing meaningful work. There's training plans. There's all these things. And the only way you can actually be in those types of environments is because you're in a state-approved program. It's not something you can normally do just the way school law is and legislation, et cetera, et cetera. So you actually have to be in a state-approved CTE program to do that. Now, to give you an idea of some of the industries we do, we have students out in advanced manufacturing. We have them in auto. We have them in health sciences, construction, IT. I mean, we can go around
Across those 17 programs.
Across, and so there's so many different opportunities for students. Sometimes they're large group opportunities. Sometimes they're very small and tailored. But we make it a priority, and we continue to grow and get better and better each year with getting kids to cross that physical portal of an employer.
I recently met a couple of our automotive students, and they did their apprenticeship and then got hired right on, and they're out there buying homes, and they're providing for themselves. So it's really a great thing for young people to just get out right away and start building their life. So let's shift a little bit to the college aspect of it all, because we do open up doors for that as well. So can you talk about how our students are going down that pathway too, and it's not just right into the workforce?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, and let's be clear. We have a very high percentage of students who go on to post-secondary education. So, our whole message to students is whether you're going into a 6-month program or you're going to get a PhD, careers are for everybody, right? And in doing that, we attract all types of kids on our campus in every way that you can imagine. And one of the things that we do, we have very strong partnerships with post-secondary partners, but we bring in all, not only career planning, but there's other aspects for college planning and getting really kids to understand what they need to be prepared for that next step. OSTC is about getting kids prepared for that next step in a meaningful way.
And what I love about CTE, and especially what we're doing here at our 4 OSTC campuses, is when you look at the numbers, the graduation rate for CTE students, and this is really across the whole state of Michigan, is upward toward 95% in comparison to those who are not in a CTE program. That is at about 80%. So you're seeing about a 15% rise in CTE students graduating.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so that's why I always, when they say, CTE is great for those kids not going to college, I'm like,
not so true there.
Not so true. It's not so
check
true. And again, it's about careers, and we want to give kids opportunities. There's really 3 questions that for all of us should be asking as we're working with kids. It's, what do you like to do? What are you good at? And is someone willing to pay you to do it?
That's right.
Right. And somewhere in the middle of that is, if that was a Venn diagram, in the middle of that is a meaningful career. If you get 2 out of 3, you might have either a job or a hobby. Like I tell people all the time, I'm always fascinated by architecture, and it's just something I like. I just like, all right? I love it, passionate about it, right? You don't want me to design
there you go.
any building that you got to walk under, because you probably won't survive.
So you like it, but you had the one check mark.
Yeah, one check mark. But am I good at it? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, and these things they're fluid, and kids, the answers to those questions will change over time. The intent is not that there's right answers to it, is that we ask them often, and then as educators and as parents and as people in the professional end, that we're providing meaningful opportunities for students to answer those questions over and over and over.
And I think you hit it earlier when you said choice. And I'm a big glasser. I believe in choice theory. I think that if students have the opportunity to do things they like to do, that buy-in will be there. And that's in any classroom setting. And so, again, these students are picking and choosing the areas that they want to explore. So some good stuff there. We know that we're dealing with a talent shortage across nearly every industry here in Michigan and really across the country. Where does CT come into play when it comes to filling these gaps? And again, those business partnerships, right?
Yeah, indeed. The business partnerships and also how we align our programs. So, and, we have quite a few large industries that are high skill, high wage, high volume, and high demand, right? And I say demand and volume are two different things, because you can have a small number of employers that say we really have a need, but then for us, as we're looking at serving an entire county, and let's be honest, we're talking about a region,
state, and even global now.
Right,
we're
right.
In a global economy.
I mean,
right?
the volume, the raw volume of opportunity has to be there. So when we when we're looking at the broader spectrum of how can we serve the kids, how can we serve our districts, how can we serve employers, it's always thinking about how we align our instruction. It's always about how do we make sure that the kids are well supported, but are we making sure we serve our local districts, making sure that employers are getting what they need? And part of what we do in that, we have advisory committees that have actual real work that we ask them to do and give us real feedback, because we want to know how to adjust
and fit the needs.
And fit the need. So with the advisory committee system, there's actually a few things that we ask them to do. One is with our certifications that students leave our programs with that are no cost to students and families or to the local districts. For one, is helping us figure out what are the most important certifications to industry, right? Because a lot of times we step back and go, well, this kid likes to do this, right? Or we think this is important, but that's all great. And at the end, again, going back to is somebody willing to pay you to do it?
That's
For
right.
those that are willing to pay, do they care?
The end of the road.
Yeah. Do they really care about that certification? So they help us rank certifications. They help us figure out from a capital outlay standpoint. So for large equipment purchases, these are all things. Obviously, we have internal processes and it goes to our board, et cetera. But we use our employers to help really guide us. We're an employer-driven system, right? And then from a curriculum standpoint, is a couple things we do. We have, I call it the 3 minutes or 3 weeks conversation. So in the state of Michigan, each one of our programs has standards. As employer-driven as we are, we also have state standards.
Yes, sir.
Right? And in our state standards, while it might be the same here as it is in the UP, the focus may be very different. So on, standard one here.
We're very automotive based here, and I'm just using that as an example. We have the big three in our backyard. The Upper Peninsula doesn't necessarily have that.
Yeah, and in some parts of the state, agriculture might be a much bigger thing. But regardless of that piece, it's not even so much about the program itself. I'm talking about the standard level. You can have an auto program here, and it still looks very different than an auto program in another part of the state. And what we do to make sure that we're meeting the needs of employers, we say, hey, standard one here, is this something that we spend 3 minutes on or 3 weeks on, right? We have to cover it. The state of Michigan says we have to cover it. MDE, Michigan Department of Ed, says we have to cover it. But we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing by our employers and doing the right things for students. So as we go through and looking at what we have to do, that really helps adjust. Because
how much emphasis
is, because
only got so much time.
You don't have so much time. You only have so much time. So we can, and then by doing that 3 weeks versus 3 minutes conversation, that can really help us get to a point where even add in even more specific things from employers in the region. So you have those opportunities. And also, we bring them in at the beginning of the school year, we say, hey, at the end of semester one, this is what we're looking at for our students. This is how we're going to assess them hands-on in the lab. And then what we do, our advisory committee looks it over. Let's say there's 10 stations, just making this up.
Sure.
But if there's 10 stations there, they'll say, well, 8 of these are good, but we don't do these other 2 anymore. How about doing these 2 things?
Right. So
And
it's
then
fluid.
So it's fluid. And then in the end, they come in. So we'll teach it throughout the semester,
Sure.
but then we circle back and our employers come in and help evaluate the students to make sure that, again, we're meeting the need. We rather know now and change on the fly and be fluid and meet the needs of our employers than find out well after a student leaves the program. So that's really how we directly align ourselves to employers, make sure we're doing the right thing by employers, which is by default the right thing for students, and doing it in a systematic and organized way.
It makes a lot of sense. No, thanks for filling us in on that. And I'm just going to throw this stat out there. 97,000 Michigan high school students in 2021-22 participated in work-based learning. I mean, to me, that's fascinating that we have that many students out there in industries and they're working and they're learning, and that includes here in Oakland County. Good stuff. When it comes to educational initiatives, proper funding is essential. In 2018, the president signed the Strengthening Career and Technical Education for the 21st Century Act into law. Can you explain that legislation and break it down a little bit for our listeners so they can understand it better?
Yeah, I'll give the very, very short version. So it's federal law, it's federal dollars. In the field, we still call it Perkins because that's what it's been around since, I would say, at least the 1920s and 1930s. But the names have changed at times depending on the administration. What that does at the state level, it funds people that are for the Michigan Department of Education in charge of compliance. And at local levels, it's the wraparound services that we can do for kids. So it's academic integration. It could be social emotional. It could be making sure that special population students are served, early college. It's all these things that people may not think of when they think about CTE. So there's federal dollars that fund CTE, but we also have state dollars, which come from the state, and there's math behind it and calculations, and it's based on how well are students completing the program, and it's based on how in demand those jobs are, so they're aligned with that program. And when the math is all said and done, we get that funding from the state. It's called added cost, because to run a CTE program, there is an added cost. It's more expensive. Absolutely. Going back to my earlier comments, we have industry level labs and things like that, and so that costs more money. And then specific to Oakland schools, as an ISD, an educational service agency, we have what we call the millage. So in our millage, which comes from property taxes from around the county, that is the big driver of our funding, and it gives us that differentiation of being able to really support our local districts and our PSAs with high quality programs that maybe due to resources they may not be able to provide. But it's really there's 3 different levels of it. So you have federal, state, and local, and when you combine them together and you're doing the right thing, you got OSTC.
That's good stuff. And our kids are definitely benefiting from that millage locally and from the federal and state dollars as well. Jarrad, this has been a great conversation, truly insightful. Before we let you go today, are there any initiatives or resources that you'd like to share with the audience listening?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we're open for enrollment for the next school year. We're just starting up enrollment season. So this is a great time if you have a rising junior or a rising senior and you're in Oakland County. You need to check out OSTC online. You'll be able to see videos. You'll be able to do some virtual experience with our campuses. But you'll also be able to really get a better understanding of how we can help. Again, CTE is for all kids, and OSTC is for all kids.
Great. I'm glad you mentioned those virtual tours. Those are new, and those are up on the website now. You can take a look and walk through any of our 4 campuses and see the programs and the tools. As Jarrad mentioned earlier, our programs mock industry standards. So what you'll see on our campuses is what you'll see in the industry.
And one other thing, Mark, as well, we also, if in coordination with our local districts, we have also many face-to-face opportunities for students to come in and experience. Some of them during the school day, which will be excused, and some opportunities after school, and then a few opportunities at night for parents.
Yeah, again, go to OSTC online.
Absolutely. So we have all these opportunities, face-to-face, virtual. Come check us out.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for that. Great conversation today. I do want to end on thinking about the MSU community. Our hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to them. I'd like to thank Jarrad Grandy, Executive Director of Student Services for Oakland Schools, for joining us today. If you have a show idea, question, or comment, or want to get recognized as Listener of the Month, we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line at educationallyspeaking@oakland.k12.mi.us. That's educationallyspeaking@oakland.k12.mi.us. This podcast was brought to you by Oakland Schools Intermediate School District's Communication Services and is produced by media production specialist Brian Beck. You can find all episodes of Educationally Speaking on our Oakland Schools website at oakland.k12.mi.us and Anchor FM. We hope you will continue to tune in as we discuss topics that affect every student every day.
Spartans will.